Welcome to 1 Million Cups Kansas City. The mission of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connection for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States. 1 Million Cup communities gather across the country every Wednesday to share presentations and make authentic connections. 1 Million Cup events are free, open to the public, and always have coffee.
Good morning. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. We have two great presentations for you guys today. So first of all, I just want to say, so we have coffees and cookies in the back, and so these are provided by our venue sponsor. So let's just go ahead and give them a round of applause. So a little bit about Kauffman Foundation. If you're in Kansas City, then you know about Kauffman Foundation and all the great work that they've done with the businesses here and the entrepreneurs here and growing and just trying to grow like the entrepreneur spirit throughout Kansas City. And so the foundation works with communities and entrepreneurship as well as education to increase opportunities that allow people to learn, take risks, and to own their own success, which is exactly what we are doing here at 1 Million Cups as well. So I have a question. Is anyone in the room new to 1 Million Cups? Awesome. We have a couple of gifts. Kluba is going to go around and hand out gifts to the new people. And thank you all for coming. I hope you have a great experience. We have organizers around the room, and I'll introduce them in a second. But after this session, if you want to go up and talk to any one of the organizers, that would be fantastic, just to tell them about your experience here today at 1 Million Cups and what we can do to improve the experience so that you guys want to keep coming back. So the mission we have here is to lower the barrier of access to education, to resources and connection through all types, for all types and new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States. So every Wednesday we have two presentations, or typically we have two presentations from entrepreneurs here in the community. And one of the main benefits is all of the people that we have in the audience, so all of you guys being completely open to helping out our new businesses, helping out our entrepreneurs, telling them about different resources and helping connect them to some of the people in Kansas City that can help them out. So you all are a very, very important part of this mission. And a lot of times, like when I do coaching, like that's one of the main things that I tell people is the presentation's fantastic, but what you'll get more than anything is you'll get a ton of value out of the Q&A because of all of the people in the room and the value that they provide, as well as the connections and the conversations after the presentation as well. So what is 1 Million Cups? We are volunteer-led. It's a national program. There are, I think, 109 1 Million Cups throughout the United States. We just started 1 Million Cups in Espanol here in Kansas City. So that is the first in Espanol 1 Million Cups that we have, and looking to expand that program nationwide, just like our typical 1 Million Cups. So we are designed to educate, engage, and to connect entrepreneurs, basically just through what I just talked about, having them come up here, present their business, give them 6 minutes, and then have that 20-minute Q&A, which is extremely valuable. We also do about once, we try to aim at least once a quarter to where we'll have a resource from the area come in, and it's almost more of just like to present different tools that are available to entrepreneurs as well. So mostly while we focus on bringing small businesses and having them present, we also try to bring resources to help some of the small businesses and entrepreneurs that come here every week as well. So they are 6-minute presentations, and we have a 20-minute Q&A. And I already talked about the Q&A. I think that is by far, in a way, one of the biggest value propositions that we have here in 1 Million Cups is all of the questions and answers that you guys provide to all of our different entrepreneurs. And so, again, we encourage authentic connections. We always say it's not necessarily networking. And by authentic connections, what we mean is just exactly what I was just talking about. When people get up here and present, the reason I believe that it works so well is because there's so many authentic people in the room. I always say it's really the first time that you present that when people ask questions, you don't feel like anyone in the audience is trying to show off like how smart they are or give you any gotcha questions. It's real, authentic connections, people truly wanting to help other businesses, which is, in my opinion, one of the greatest things about 1 Million Cups. And so again, we give stories and presentations. They're not so much business pitches. The way that I always tell people is you have 6 minutes to get up there and present to a room full of people who want to help you out. Tell your story in those 6 minutes and make sure that anyone in the audience who's sitting there saying, I want to go up and talk to them after this presentation, that you arm them with enough information so that they can come up and say, hey, I really want to help you out. Here's how I think I might be able to do it. We have a group of organizers. They're in the back. Would you all please raise your hands? Awesome. Thank you, guys. So as I mentioned earlier, this is completely volunteer-led. If you guys have any questions, are interested in presenting, becoming an organizer, just walk up and speak to any of us after the presentations today. Also, if you are interested in becoming an organizer, you can click the QR code there as well. We are always just like rotating organizers in and out. So if you guys are interested, come talk to one of us, and we'll definitely start that process and see what we can do, see what you guys would be interested in doing as an organizer. Okay, so the guiding principles for 1 Million Cups, our goal is to support the entrepreneurs, and your role, I think I've hit on that a lot already today, is to offer thoughtful, constructive questions to help and to understand and to help. So we focus on curiosity over criticism, collaboration over critique, and actionable kind feedback. Like I was saying earlier, one of the things that I always tell them is this is one of the very few times that you're going to be pitching your business and you get that thoughtful, actionable insight from the audience instead of people sitting back and saying, okay, where can I get you with the gotcha question here? So again, your role in the questions and the feedback that you guys offer is one of the most important things with 1 Million Cups. Okay, we are about to begin the presentation. So if you want to go ahead and silence your phones, which I need to do as well because I just started buzzing. And let's go ahead and give it up for Teresa and her company, SparkSignal Strategy.
Hi, everyone. And can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Hey, everyone. My name is Teresa Maly, and I'm the founder and CEO of SparkSignal Strategy, which is a brand strategy and advertising technology consultancy based right here in the heart of Kansas City. So a little bit about me and our company. As mentioned, my name is Teresa. I've lived in Kansas City for about 10 years. Most of my career has been in advertising technology and brand strategy consulting. I've done strategy consulting for Fortune 500 clients in Germany, Japan, and China, but I also have a really deep experience in advertising technology and digital advertising as well. And over the course of time, I started SparkSignal Strategy because I kept seeing small businesses and startups invest in executing digital marketing, like going straight to Facebook, straight to Instagram and LinkedIn, and running ads online without having a really good strategic foundation. And I found that the big problem that I saw with a lot of digital advertising companies was that they were selling tactics to these companies like ads and posts and using different platforms without having a really clear plan for how those companies were actually going to grow and actually increase their market share. My company exists to change that, bringing strategy first so that every marketing dollar actually drives meaningful results when you actually execute online. At the same time, I wanted to build my company to be flexible. As a mom, I have a 3-year-old at home, but I'm also a caretaker for my own mom after her stroke. In addition to all of that, I'm also a leader with the Junior League of Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm also involved as a volunteer with the AIDS Service Foundation of Kansas City as well. So what does SparkSignal Strategy do and what makes us different from other digital advertising companies? What we really specialize in is bringing big agency strategy to small businesses and startups. So what does that mean? Helping people define their go-to-market strategy, their positioning, and their messaging, and helping them build a really clear strategic foundation before any marketing begins. And once that strategic foundation is set, then we shift into executing really high-performing digital marketing, specifically social media, programmatic media buying or display advertising, paid social, and paid search. And what I really specialize in with my background is connecting strategy to execution so marketing can actually drive business growth. And what makes us different from other advertising companies? Some of you in the audience are probably thinking, another digital marketing company in Kansas City, groundbreaking. But what I think the value proposition of what SparkSignal Strategy brings to businesses, we're strategy first, we're not tactics first. We're not going to bring you to the online advertising platform until you have a really deep strategic foundation and you've defined yourself in a competitive market so that you know what you're saying and you know what you actually bring to your marketing customers. I bring big agency thinking built for growing brands. I've worked for big holding company advertising agencies. I've worked for agencies on the East Coast, and I've also worked for small startup agencies as well. So I know what it takes for each brand to grow, whether it is a larger Fortune 500 company or it's a mom and pop storefront in Overland Park, for example. I'm really focused on clarity, efficiency, and bringing real results, like continuing to develop markets as well. So I have found that my biggest challenge is really building awareness in the Kansas City metro, where many of the other digital marketing agencies or consultancies focus on execution over strategy. They're bringing you straight into Google Ads. They're taking you straight into running social media without helping you define where you're at in the market and defining what you bring to your customers. What I've been trying to do is differentiate SparkSignal Strategy as a strategy first partner, not just another digital marketing vendor. So what I've been spending a lot of my time doing is educating local businesses on the value of having that strong strategic foundation before ever investing in tactics. I have actually seen really good traction outside of the Kansas City market. Clients are already seeking out a more strategic approach, validating demand. My primary client is actually based in Dallas, and just yesterday they decided to deepen their relationship with me and expand into a second brand as well. So there is a demand there. I just hope to cultivate that in Kansas City and help differentiate SparkSignal Strategy. So what have I tried so far? I have been networking with local businesses and entrepreneurial groups across Kansas City. I'll just tell you, as someone who's worked from home for 5 years, it is a new challenge for me to get out of the house and go and talk with people. I've been promoting SparkSignal Strategy at in-person events and meetups and trying to build a more relationship-driven outreach. And then a lot of my early efforts have also been focused on establishing credibility and visibility in the local market as well, and really differentiating us from some of the other digital marketing shops here in Kansas City. So what have I learned so far? I've kind of alluded to a little bit of this already. I'm starting to generate some interest in Kansas City. I have one potential client right now, but it's really challenging to break that perception of being an execution-only agency. I'm finding that there's like a pretty significant need to educate the Kansas City market on the value of having a strategy-first approach. And as I mentioned, I'm having a lot of traction with organizations outside of Kansas City, with my largest client based in Dallas-Fort Worth, which tells me that the demand exists yet. It might just not be locally yet. So I guess the question I have for the 1 Million Cups participants for today is, how do we effectively differentiate SparkSignal Strategy as a strategy first partner, and where needed, educate the Kansas City market on that value when so many businesses are conditioned to buy only execution-only digital marketing services?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the presentation. At this point, we're gonna do questions. So just raise your hand. We have mics going on.
Hi, thank you for the interesting presentation. I think you told me you've been in this area for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So one of your points is that you've been able to get traction outside of Kansas City, but not here. Can you explain why that might be?
So part of it is I have a lot of network connections outside of the Kansas City metro. As I've mentioned, I've worked remotely for some different companies, and I have connections there that have helped me increase my market outreach there, which is why I was able to land my first client in Dallas. It was through a friend who had helped me network there.
Is there a big difference between pricing between an execution version versus a strategy version that you're offering?
Not necessarily based on the way I priced it. I did a lot of like market research to see, like, in terms of execution and strategy, where would I need to be priced to be competitive in the market? I don't want to sell myself short. I definitely don't want to be a digital marketing chop shop, but I do also want to be fairly compensated for the strategic value I find. So where I've kind of landed is in the middle ground of what other digital marketing services are priced at. I will say a lot of what differentiates me is not necessarily in price, but the process in which you actually get to executing in digital media, where you spend really your first month defining your strategy, and that is priced at the exact same price as if you were actually executing digital media. So I have thought about that to make sure that like I am, being fairly compensated, but also making sure that I'm within the realities of the market.
Sorry, I have another question.
Sure.
So what's your typical engagement? Do you have like when you start off, is it a 6-month engagement, a 3-month engagement that you normally look at?
Usually, my primary clients right now are 12-month engagements.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I have 2 questions really. One, your staff, do you have one? Or you work out of your home, or how does that?
I work out of my home, and I joke that my husband, who is here today, is my unofficial and unwilling CFO.
The same thing to my wife. So the second question really is more about your strategy. And so I've hired SEO and other social media. I'm working right now to try to find one that I trust. Spent a ton of money, got nothing for it, nothing. And so what do you do differently that gives some return on investment?
I think that's a fantastic question. It's a question I actually like hearing from different people who are actually looking for digital marketing services. As I kind of mentioned in this presentation, I think a lot of digital marketing firms go straight to execution. They take the existing assets that you have, they take your website, and they tell you they can start executing immediately. Where what I do differently, because I have that brand strategy background, is we spend a few weeks defining like, where are you at in the market? How are your customers seeking you out? What is your messaging? What is your positioning as well? And if you spend a little bit of time defining that, you can actually get a little bit more efficient with how you actually spend on digital marketing execution. So spending that first month on that, it actually saves money in the long run. I also come from a performance marketing background too, where I've been optimizing and making sure that every dollar actually gets a return in terms of advertising spend as well. So I do have experience in those environments, making sure that you actually have a return on your investment as well, like ROAS, or your return on ad spend as well. So I have both the strategic experience, but also the execution experience. However, I will tell you, I could go on a complete tangent about the value about SEO. So we'll talk about that later.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm going to jump in because that's a good lead into my question. I run a small manufacturing company, 4 million in revenue.
Nice.
We do some direct and some through distributors. And I inherited a local firm, straight to tactics, trying to sell me on SEO. They did a bunch of that before. We backed off on it. So I've been a marketing strategist. I'm comfortable doing the first part. But what do you see as the market for people that are a little further along than I need help with the strategy? Or is that not your sweet spot? I feel like we're probably too. I came to support Isabelle. I didn't expect to get. This is a bonus for me. But do you see a need for a broader range? And like you just said, talk about SEO and your experience with that, or you focus more on bigger companies that want a 12-month engagement?
So kind of focused on both. My current clients are a current mix of very small companies and companies around the same size as your manufacturing company. I find that, to reiterate your question, companies who are a little bit more mature in their marketing strategy and want to look at what they want to do differently with their performance and online marketing, I think it's a little bit of a different calculus, which is also what I specialize in as well. It's really taking a look at, as I was alluding to, your return on ad spend and making sure that there aren't any optimizations or strategic changes you can make to make sure that you're iterating on your return on ad spend. But I actually think that one of the most interesting opportunities for a business with a defined marketing strategy, and they already have digital marketing, is really looking at their creative and seeing what's different, what's trendy, and how they can actually innovate in the field as well. And so thinking about more innovative creative is also a sweet spot of mine.
Great presentation. Okay. Great presentation. One possible avenue, I'm not sure if you thought about this, is actually reaching out to independent web developers and seeing if they can be like referral partners to you when it comes to sort of what you're working on. Because sometimes, especially when smaller organizations, for-profit or nonprofit, are looking to do new strategies, they kind of go one after the other. They might get a new website. That person may be only specialized in developing new websites or content, whatever it is on the website, but not be strong on the area that you're working on. So by reaching out to them, they might be great referral partners for you. And then have you ever done that or?
Inadvertently, believe it or not. I actually have a relationship with a local web developer based out in South OP. We haven't actually worked together yet, but we have talked about like how we can refer work back and forth to each other. And then if you were here last week and you got to hear Nathan from Lefty Media co-speak, he and I are actually going to meet tomorrow to talk a little bit more about how we might be able to collaborate together. But that's not something I have like explicitly pursued. And thank you for that. That's a good idea. It's just kind of happened organically for me over the past couple months.
And then you can see if there's some meetup groups for just web developers, and you get a whole bunch of them.
Hey, that's a really good idea. Thank you for sharing that. I hadn't thought of that other than inadvertently how I've been meeting with web developers.
That expands your network in Kansas City too. Maybe not them, but they may know someone. That makes sense.
True. Thank you.
That's a fantastic presentation. My question is, how do you go about educating small businesses? What I see is kind of like you said, everybody goes straight to execution. It is decorating social media feeds with things that are not especially thoughtful or strategic. How do you get them to recognize that value once you get in the door and have that conversation?
I actually have an analogy that I presented small businesses with. Imagine you went to the bar and you saw someone that you actually wanted to ask out on a date. Now, if you walked up to that person and just asked them out on a date, they would probably be kind of like, caught off guard by that. But if you actually sat down with them, got to know them, maybe had a drink or some food and actually built a relationship with them, you'd actually probably be more successful when you actually ask them on a date. Now, where that kind of translates into digital marketing, if you actually spend some time up front in strategy, like, really digging in deep, what does your business do differently? What do you bring to clients? Where are you at in the matrix of the market? And spending a little time, like, thinking about your relationship with the market, thinking about your relationship with customers. When you actually go to execute digital marketing, you're going to be a little bit more successful because you're actually able to put your best foot forward and also be a little bit more efficient with your spend as well. So I find that like using simple analogies like that really brings it home to explain to small businesses who just think, hey, I just need to start putting content on Instagram. I think it's a good way of explaining to them like, hey, you need to dig a little bit deeper. You need to spend a little bit of time thinking about your relationships in the market and your relationships with customers before you actually like go to market with digital marketing.
Really, really great presentation. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie. That was actually almost exactly the question I was going to ask. And so I'm just going to do my second question then, which is, I run both my own small business and I run a nonprofit supporting entrepreneurs. And one of the things that we see repeatedly is people get really easily burnt out by the way the algorithms just are brutal, right?
They are.
So you spent the time doing the strategy, you put out some really great videos. I'll just use my video as an example. So I have a video that has well over, I don't know, I think it's at 200,000 views on my business account. We took the exact same video, rebranded it a little bit, and put it on our nonprofit account, and it got 200 views. And so I'm just curious, as someone who's doing this strategy, right, working with small companies that don't have the traction yet. But just for context, my personal or my business account at the time, I think had 3,500 followers. So I built some following, and our nonprofit account has 500 followers. So it's not like they're in drastically different categories as far as it is different, but I'm just curious how you walk people through that, just like the brutal reality of digital marketing.
So I will say, especially in paid social, especially in the meta platforms, I think the algorithms have become really brutal, and I think they have really deprioritized small businesses and smaller creators. I'm even finding this on my own business account where I get really decent traction on my own personal account, which is a private account. I post on SparkSignal Strategies account, and I'm limited reach. And what I have really found is you really have to build up so that the algorithm actually recognizes. So posting consistently for like 2 to 3 months, you may not actually get the traction you think you're going to get, but eventually you will break out of what I call meta jail. But I also think that's an opportunity for paid social or like paid advertising to come in. I'm not saying you need to spend $10,000 or spend like an enterprise level, but sometimes just boosting a post for $20 or something can actually boost you in the algorithm and send positive signals, especially in the meta platforms as well. I will say that I find that LinkedIn is a little less harsh than Meta in terms of like actually gaming the algorithms. Your content can actually reach outside of your network. I do sometimes recommend boosting priority posts as well, but I actually find that LinkedIn is a less harsh mistress when it comes to the algorithm.
In answer to the question, how do we educate the Kansas City market? I think that's what people need to hear, right? They need
Yeah.
to understand that the money that they're putting in and the time that they're putting in is going to be worth it long term. Because I think as small business owners, especially when you see dollars going out the door and then you see 200, 300, 400 views, you just go, this is a total waste of my time, right? And I know every marketing strategy company says, you know, you got to stick with it for several months, but it is, I think that's what people need to understand, I guess.
Yeah, it is a really harsh reality. And as I mentioned, I think Meta is the worst about it. I think their algorithms are unexplainably punitive towards smaller creators and smaller businesses. So.
Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to build on what she said. Someone also said something about educating your market. Have you heard of the Global Entrepreneurship Week?
I have, yes. I just heard about it last week.
Oh, awesome. I think you should apply to host a session for entrepreneurs during that week. That way you can use that opportunity to educate the entrepreneurs during that week. Use that to also increase the brand awareness in Kansas City.
Thank you. I will definitely consider that.
I'll follow up real quick before we, it's a great presentation, by the way. Have you partnered with organizations like KC SourceLink, SBDC, because they run a lot of workshops. It's something you can do as well if you considered it. And they cater to not just startups, but businesses 3-5 years into it and sometimes more.
Sure. I actually met with a SourceLink navigator a couple weeks ago, but I haven't had a chance to go meet with the SBDC, but that's something I'll consider.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Oh, actually, I do have a question. All of us are kind of gravitating around the same thing right now. And maybe it's just because we're all business owners as well. But I see a ton of value in what you do coming in with strategy beforehand. So like as a business owner, like, do you let them know, like, what would their takeaways be of like that strategy session? Like, would it be like a capacity statement? You'll get a competitor analysis, content pillars, which is just like one slide showing like if you were going to organize your content and when you're posting online or advertising, what you would actually post as well. But then also a grid of like your maybe 5 to 10 of your competitors and where you're related to them as well, just so you kind of understand your position in the market as well. Perfect. Yeah, and because as we talked about, I think that's a huge value that you present. Like you said, some people notice it, and some are struggling. So I have one last question for you. What can we as a community, as a 1 Million Cups community, do to help you?
Spread the word. If you know of small businesses or startups or different people looking for marketing strategy and digital marketing, 100% want to talk with them as well, even if it's just to be a sounding board or to give them advice as well, even if we don't formally work together.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Also, I heard that you didn't tell them that you're a stand-up comedian.
I forgot. Yes, I am a stand-up comedian. If you ever get bored at 8 p.m. on Thursday nights, I'm performing at the Bird. It's nothing vulgar. I do comedy from everything from making fun of myself learning how to ski to the tyranny of my 3-year-old daughter trying to go to bed at night.
Love it.
Thanks.
I love it. Awesome. And also love to hear that you and Nathan are getting together. That is exactly what I was talking about at the beginning of all this, of the kind of connections that we are looking to build here. So fantastic job, fantastic presentation. Up next, we have Isabelle, actually one of our 1 Million Cup organizers, who is going to present KingDom culture.
A little bit nervous, so I just want to come over here so I can be a little bit closer to you guys. But imagine growing up in an environment where you are surrounded by your cousins and you're gathering around the fire, hearing stories that your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles tell you, and the sights and the sounds of drums and culture and foods that just reminds you of community. And that's how I grew up. And when I moved to the United States of America, in search of the American dream, of course, I was looking for something that could reconnect me with those memories. And that's when KingDom Culture was birthed. And this is actually the very first dress that I created by hand. And so who are we? KingDom Culture is the children's clothing company that creates outfits that help everybody to appreciate culture. As I mentioned, what I grew up with, I wanted to extend it to everybody. And so that everybody can also appreciate culture without being accused of cultural appropriation. And that's when KingDom Culture was birthed. So for me, there was this street, first street in Harare, Zimbabwe, and there was a curio shop, as we call it, and it was called Rado Arts. And I found myself lost in that store for hours. I would go in there and just stay there. And there were other things from Kenya, from Nigeria, from around the world. And I was just amused by these things. And then I got to hear the story. Mostly it was women who were creating these products to support their families. And so when I went to UMKC, I was part of eScholars in collaboration with Rainier Venture, Rainier Institute. And I shared this idea with my professor, and he was very interested. So that's when KingDom Culture as a business actually started. And I looked for companies to do production, and I couldn't find any. I tried everything. So because I was in school, I just packed the idea because I was like, what can I do? This is difficult. And then the unthinkable happened. A couple of years ago, I read the news that Rado Arts closed. It's a long story, I won't go into it. And I just saw the video of women. They looked hopeless because they didn't know what else to do, where else to go. And so it restarted the fire in me to restart KingDom Culture. And not that I intend to recreate what Rado Arts did, but I intend to extend what they were doing, the culture of cultural appreciation for everybody and supporting women and giving them dignity. And so when Rado Arts closed, like I said, I saw it symbolized the death of hope for the women and the families that depended on it. And so what do? As I mentioned, we promote cultural appreciation and we give families dignity by empowering women and empowering the youth and men alike to be able to have the pride of earning income and supporting their families, educate their children. And so the business model is very simple. Currently, it's B2C, direct to consumers. I have showcased with Omaha Fashion Week and Kansas City Fashion Week and done like farmers market events, and that's how I sold some of my products, or just word to mouth. And then how we have validated proof of concept, again, UMKC, eScholars. I've also done SBDC proof to, the startup proof to profit, and I've done interviewed a lot of grandmothers, grandparents, and parents as well. And so right now, it costs me about between $25 to $35 to create, because I'm doing everything by myself. And the pieces retail between $65 and $85. And so, and now we're looking for a production company, which is why I'm here to ask you guys for that. And so the challenge, as I mentioned, because I hand make everything, this is the process. Really, I start with the board and I do the sourcing of the fabric, really Joann's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, even where I can find trims of fabric. And then I create the pattern and I start creating. So this process, however, has been very slow and expensive. And now because we're looking to scale, I need something that will work better. And what we have tried, I've also tried to outsource production in Zimbabwe. I ordered a couple of pieces from Zimbabwe, and that was the challenge of, there was poor quality control. So the pieces were not up to par to whereby I was comfortable selling them to people. So I ended up just giving away everything really. I've tried making the clothes myself, as I mentioned. I've tried working with the tailor or seamstress, and that also posed its own challenges because there was problems with consistency, and some of my designs would always end up changing because I wasn't there every step of the way. And I've also tried working with local KC-based production companies, per se, like Rightfully Sewn, so the Sewing Labs, KC Tech, KCAI, Sandlot, Made in KC, but they weren't able to work with me because they were looking for maybe larger companies that can afford to create bigger orders. And so where we are going, as I mentioned, there's interest in the product from the interviews that we've gathered. And now we want to scale, we want to grow. And we're looking into creating an e-commerce live website to sell these pieces, and also expand our B2B retail partnerships, or expand into, because I don't have those yet, and then go into full production, and also raise funds through a Kickstarter campaign to fund the growth. And so what is my ask? My ask here is for strategic partnerships and connections with potential production companies that can work with us to scale, and also web or software developers to help create that e-commerce store, and then finally help or guidance or support with the Kickstarter campaign. Thank you.
Awesome, fantastic job. We'll open up to Q&A now.
Hey, Isabelle, I'm so happy you're here. One of the things I was really happy to see is that you've actually partnered with Kansas City Fashion Week and Omaha Fashion Week as well. But I didn't know if you were aware that I think there are some nonprofits associated with Kansas City Fashion Week that can like help with production costs, help with you with some of those like growing needs for a textile brand. And I didn't know if you'd explored that through Kansas City Fashion Week.
No,
Okay.
I haven't. I wasn't aware.
Okay, I will give you my business card after this. I'm gonna reach out to, I'm gonna text someone. I think there's like a nonprofit affiliated with KCMW that might be able to help you with some of this.
Awesome, thank you.
I have several questions for you. You said you mentioned that you try to work with some of the local production companies, but they weren't interested because your batch sizes.
Pretty much.
So I'm just curious, what are you thinking as like a base order as far as pieces to begin? I just wanted to kind of understand what is too small for some of them.
So I consulted with someone, and they actually made a suggestion that made sense to me, to do like made to order or pre-order, and giving like maybe about 3 to 4 weeks of production, which helps because by the time we do production, we already know how many pieces we need to make for the month, which helps with not having extra inventory. So maybe I'm thinking between 20 to 30 pieces per size. So for example, maybe 3 to 4, 20 pieces, or even less, because what I've learned from the past, sometimes when you just order a lot of products and you don't know like how many people actually want the pieces, you end up with just inventory laying around and you lose money. So the made to order or pre-order, I thought it was an excellent suggestion, which when we just know, okay, so next month we need 20 pieces. Next month we need 30 pieces of this size. So
also I was wondering, are you opposed to any knit designs, or do you just prefer woven?
Knit designs, you say?
The reason I say this is because I know someone in the US who she works with. I mean, like you can order as little as like 10 pieces and she'll work with you, but she works with some major brands too, like Sergio Hudson, but she doesn't turn anyone away. It's just as far as like getting in with her, but her specialty is more so knit as opposed to like the woven
Okay,
that you
I
have
see.
here. So that's why I was just curious.
I'm willing to explore it.
Okay.
I'm very willing to explore the options that are there. So
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, interesting presentation. Really can relate to what you've been going through. However, I don't buy these kinds of clothes, and I don't think I'm going to be making any of these in the near future. But here's an idea that just popped into my head, because what you're trying to do is find, I think, the equivalent of what might have happened at Rado Arts, where there's a small community of people who made the same thing so that you weren't dependent on just one person to make a particular item that the shop carried. So this is just a shot in the dark. Have you thought about trying to find out in Kansas City, are there things like sewing clubs that might want to have a project which is to make basically the same design but in different sizes? And you would pay them for it, of course, but they might be willing to be more flexible with pricing, with order size, with scheduling and all that kind of stuff. So just an idea.
Thank you. I would definitely reach out again to the sewing labs, for example, because I know they train they have an industrial sewing program. So I'm sure they will have more people that can work with me. I know for sure one of my mentors introduced me to the Hope House, and I was able to talk to them. However, that would take time because the girls that are in that program, they need training. They are not trained already. So that would mean, I don't know how long it would take for them to be trained and then start production with them. So I will look into that. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. I was looking at, the merchandise you're selling, and obviously if you're gearing it towards children, this is some of the themes. The first thing that comes to mind is the Kansas City Zoo. They do different events where they open it to vendors for like jazz zoo or various specialized events, but then you can also become like a permanent merchant there. I think, if you had an opportunity to go there with, you and another person and have some example clothings to sell and just be at the right place with that kind of energy and the kids around, I think, that might be a good opportunity for you to kind of get that batch size that you might need. Just from, you could be there for one weekend, put in some time, and then, be connecting with the community and, get a big backlog of things that you can actually bring to a company willing to put it all together for you.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, Isabelle. Good morning. This is Etha. Thank you so much for sharing this. I love fashion too. And so this is where you and I really connect. I think it would be amazing to do community-based events. So think of Juneteenth, think of, like cultural, maybe events that you haven't really been a part of before around the community. See, I mean, the World Cup will be here, very soon. So, what resources and community events can you tap into? Also, I'm taking a sewing class right now at Rightfully Sewn. This is my 9th week out of 10. I've just been hearing a lot about issues related to cost, because we're in the academy, so we're not affected, but the other folks got furloughed actually on Monday. And so all of the full-time folks, and so they were talking about costs. So my caution, I think, would be to, think through that cost piece, but also I love the order first and then make, because right now, there are so many challenges economically that I wouldn't want you to have a batch and then, lose money. So I think, and people love custom design stuff. So maybe that could be your focus area first for custom design, and maybe someone actually wants to select the print and select, select what it would look like, and then you make it for them. And then that way, I think that also justifies that pricing. Because if there's an $85 dress, but every other kid is also wearing it, I don't think my 7-year-old would want to. She would be like, oh, and I want a bow here, and I want this here. So I think custom made might also be amazing, but love the business. If there's any way we could support you, please let us know. But there's Juneteenth event, and then there's also other community events. I'm always happy to share with you.
Thank you.
Great presentation. I'm going to kind of follow up what she said. I had two thoughts. There's an ethnic festival that happens every year, and that might be a great opportunity where you can get some pre-orders. I think it says Swole Park. But that is another one. And then the other one is that with World Cup coming in, I know Kansas City has a focus on helping small businesses. And I was a part of the Open Doors program, which is a different program than what I'm suggesting, but you may want to reach out to KC BizCare, because I know during World Cup, they're going to have some booths and things available for people in Union Station. And with World Cup being here those 2 months, that could be an opportunity for you to connect.
Awesome. Thank you.
Isabelle, great presentation. I'm actually very excited just seeing what you had your presentation today, because a lot of people know me for owning a skincare company, a med spa. But actually, my other entrepreneur, because a lot of other entrepreneurs in serious ways, is I'm actually a fashion designer and a culture curator. So I've been in that world over 10 years, and I'm talking about just outside of Kansas City as well. So I'm happy to mentor you. A lot of the things you're going through, I went through. And I would love to cut some of those steps for you.
Thank you.
For you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Oh, over here. I just had an idea for another retail outlet. There is a quite small business called Shop Local KC, and they just have 2 locations, one in Brookside and one at Crown Center. And I know that literally all of the merchandise in their store is not created by them for their store. They do have a flower shop, and that's kind of what they do. But every other piece of goods in there is from local Kansas City creators. So I just think it's a very, it's a very small start, but I think they're very open to bringing in new people and have them have like a pop-up display, and you can just see how it goes. It's a little less lower barrier to entry and lower pressure than some big rollout.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. And as you know, we'll have one last question for you. What can we as a community do to help you?
So as I said earlier, it's the same thing. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but just strategic partnerships and connections, mentorship, introduction to potential production companies, and also web or software developers to help with that website, and also finally guidance or support regarding the Kickstarter campaign, because that's what will help us grow and have the funds to scale. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And so if you all are interested, you can scan the QR code on the screen and just apply there. And then also, if you have also put in an application to present, as I'm sure you all have noticed, we have some new organizers here. And so if you have if you have an application that's been out there and it's been out there for a while, please just walk up to one of us and let us know. We'll exchange information and we'll look at your application and get you scheduled to present. All right. Thank you everybody for coming. There is coffee and cookies in the back, and I think we have the room for about another hour or so for all of us to continue meeting. Thanks.